On this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney, Jared shares with us his tips and tricks for rope drop at the new Epic Universe Park.
Welcome to this week's episode of A Drier Dose of Disney. I'm your host, Jared Dreyer, and today we are going to be talking to you about Epic Universe and the rope drop strategy for that new park. This is an exciting new park and a new addition to the Universal Studios part of Orlando, and it's a park we went to twice over the last couple months, and we had a wonderful time. There are some great unique rides and unique lands there. And we just did an episode that reviewed the park and talked about all the great rides and all the great food. And we're going to go into a little bit of that detail today, talking about the rides specifically. But what we want to do today is we really want to highlight a good, solid rope drop strategy for this park. So that way you can go out there and make the most of your day. And I will say that when we went to this park with our friends, we were able to get through all 5 lands, every single ride that we wanted to, some of them multiple times, before the end of the day. So it was very easy to do. And this is the strategy that we followed, is the one that I'm going to share with you today. And we spent a lot of time thinking about this before we got to the park. So I want to encourage you to follow this guide. This is going to be a great way to get to all the rides in the park. And we're going to give you some tips and tricks along the way, as well as our I Can Do This All Day tip of the day at the end. So if you listened to that last episode, or if you're familiar with Epic Universe, you know that this park has 5 lands. And in fact, it's really 4 lands surrounding the central hub of this park called Celestial Park. So in Celestial Park in the middle, you've got all the shops, you've got a few great restaurants, and I encourage you to go listen to that episode where we talk through all the restaurants, because there are some amazing ones here. And then you have the 4 lands that surround it. So within Celestial Park itself, you have a carousel, you have Stardust Racers, and then you've got Super Nintendo Land is one of the worlds, Dark Universe, which is the classic Universal Monsters world, Ministry of Magic from Harry Potter, and Isle of Berk from How to Train Your Dragon. So those are the 4 lands that you're going to want to go through. Now, a lot of the marquee rides, the 2 big rides at this park, the ones that have the longest waits by far and everyone's going to be going for, is going to be Mario Kart over at the Super Nintendo Land, and then the Battle of the Ministry of Magic in the Ministry of Magic Harry Potter world. These queues are going to be long all day, and if you have obviously early park access from being on site, we're going to encourage you start your day with one of those 2 rides if you want to knock it out right away. And the reason is the other parts of the park are not open yet. They're not going to open until general admittance is allowed in. So those are going to be your only real options at that point in time. So we encourage you definitely go through those and try to knock those out early in the day if you are an early park goer. Now, for those of you who aren't like us, or the majority of people, you're going to get in at general admittance. So let's talk through what the strategy is. But back to these 2 big rides. So Mario Kart is a really fun ride. You're going to get on a cart of 4 people. It's all virtual reality, and you're going to go through and earn some coins. I will tell you the standard queue, for the most part, was over 100 minutes the entire day that we were there. However, single rider was very quick, and there's no posted wait time for single rider. I can tell you that we rode this across the 2 days we were there 3 separate times. Twice on the first day that we went. And most of the waits were just about 10 minutes long for single rider. Our longest wait was about 20 minutes. Every single time we got in the queue ranged from 90 to 120. So you can imagine if you can do single rider in 10 minutes, that's going to be better than pretty much any other wait in the park. So we're going to highly recommend you do single rider at Mario Kart. And then same thing over at Ministry of Magic. Now, the first time we went through here, we did the standard queue because we wanted to make sure we saw the whole queue and that we could ride together the first time we did it. However, I will tell you, just like a lot of our other episodes, first of all, the queue, you're still going to go through the entire queue in the single rider line, so you're not going to miss anything. But I will also tell you that by the time we got to the ride and you're on the ride, you're not interacting with anyone else in your group or your party. And so it is almost identical to riding single rider. And the time that we did the single rider queue, that took us about a 30-minute wait. And that posted wait time was over 100 minutes. So it's much, much quicker to do single rider and to separate your party in these queues than it is to go through the entire wait yourself. So we know that these are the big marquee rides. Everybody wants to ride them. You're going to get a chance to ride them, but I'm going to tell you, you are going to be way better off doing single rider. So with that being said, here is our recommendation on how we did our day and what I would recommend for you. So when you go into the park, I'm going to tell you stay to the right, and you're going to want to go to Isle of Burke, and you're going to want to start with Hiccups Winged Gliders. This is a medium-sized roller coaster. It's a lot of fun, but because of the lockers and the load unload time and all of that, this line can get long very quick throughout the day. And first thing in the morning at rope drop is when it's going to be shortest. Now, in some of my other episodes, I have told you if you're going to do rope drop, you should look at these heat maps and try to find a heat map with the wait times listed throughout the day. And then it obviously goes green, yellow, red based on how long it takes to get into the ride itself. With the heat maps on Hiccups Wing Gliders, if you ever look at those, you will see you have a very short segment in the first 30 minutes where it's going to be green. And then after that, it's going to go yellow and red the rest of the day. So our goal is right at rope drop, we want to get on Hiccups Winged Gliders. Now, I will also tell you, though, when we did this, both days, this is where we started. Both days, the ride was not open immediately park opening. So one time we went over and jumped onto Flight School and tried that one out, which is right next door. And that took us about 15 or 20 minutes. And then we eventually came back later to Hiccups Wing Gliders. The second day we said we would wait, and it was about 15 or 20 minutes after park opening. They got the ride open, and we were on the first car at that point in time. So it wasn't too bad of a wait if you consider that we were the very first ones to get on there. I can imagine if you're at the back of the pack and it's going to take you 30 minutes, plus you had to wait 15 for it to even open, that may be a little bit of a longer wait, and it may not be worth it to you. But if the ride is open, I will tell you, you want to start with Hiccups Wing Gliders because this one is going to be a longer wait later in the day. Now, right after you're done with Hiccups Wing Gliders, we recommend go hit Flight School. It's right next door. It's not going to have much of a wait. And if you wanted to, you could do Fire Drill after that and knock out Isle of Burke. Now, again, if you've listened to our other episodes, we like to knock out full sections of the park so we can get out of there and not have to come back unless we choose to ride something again later in the day. So we're going to tell you start with Isle of Burke and knock that out. Second, as soon as you're done with that, we're going to tell you go all the way diagonal across the park. So I know it's a little bit of a walk, but you're going to go next to Dark Universe, and we're going to tell you to follow up the next ride with Curse of the Werewolf, and you're going to want to ride that roller coaster. That one also has a single rider option. That's going to be much quicker than the traditional line. But another consideration of this ride is the queue is outdoors. So if it's going to be a hot day, you're going to want to get this done early in the day. So chances are is after Hiccups Wing Gliders and doing all the Isle of Burke, it's probably about an hour, maybe 90 minutes into the day at this point. So you're still early enough to do that outdoor queue without melting in the sun. So we're going to encourage you, if the general queue is less than 20 minutes, you're probably better in the general queue. But if it's longer than 20 minutes, you're probably going to be better in single rider because this one seats 4 per car and it moves pretty quickly. Go definitely check that out. As soon as you're done with Curse of the Werewolf, I will tell you that you're going to want to go do Monsters Unchained. It's right next door. That one throughout the day, because the load is so fast on this ride, typically doesn't have a longer wait than 10 or 20 minutes. And every time we saw it posted between 10 and 20 minutes, when we would go in there, we would walk straight on this ride. So we would walk straight through the queue and we were getting on the ride immediately. And it literally takes you probably 5 to 10 minutes to walk the entire queue. So that is the majority of your wait time there. So we would say knock that one out next. Once you're done with the Dark Universe, we're going to tell you, I would go over next to Super Nintendo Land if Donkey Kong does not have a long wait. This is another ride that's going to, it'll be high at the beginning of the day. It's going to get a couple times during the day that it's going to dip. And if you can catch it in a dip, you're going to want to do that next. So if you're able to catch it in a dip, and what I mean by that is in the 30 to 40 minute range, definitely less than an hour. If it's more than an hour, I probably wouldn't then. But you're going to want to go do the Donkey Kong Minecart Madness ride at that point if that's a ride you're interested in doing. Now, on our other episode, we did talk about this as a jerky ride. It doesn't have much of a plot or a point, and it's a smaller roller coaster. So if you wanted to miss one throughout the day or wanted to make sure you did all your rides that you were interested in, this is one that I may skip. So it's a fun little ride, but at the same time, you're not missing anything if you decide to skip it. From there, I would go over and I would do Mario Kart and do Bowser's Challenge. And I would do that in the single rider and then again, knock out that land there. And then I would go over to Harry Potter Land because this ride is going to start and peak early in the day. And as the day goes on, it's going to start dropping down. And then I would do Ministry of Magic through single rider there. Once you're done with that, I'm going to come back out and I'm going to do Stardust Racers. And there's a couple reasons I save Stardust Racers for later. The first reason is this line moves very quickly, though it can get backed up a little bit during the day because there's 2 roller coasters going at the same time and they're loading 2 at the same time. The ride moves fairly quick. Now, another tip here is they do have single rider, but it's not often open. So I'm going to encourage you, if it's not open, you're going to get into the queue and you're going to want to go to the yellow line. Do not go to the green line. Green is going to be backed up because there's rumors online or people are talking about that green is more intense than yellow. And I will tell you, I rode them both. It is barely different at all. And the only difference between the two is green has a little twist at the top and yellow doesn't. It's got it at the bottom of the hill. So really outside of that, the tracks are identical. So go on the yellow. It's going to shorten your wait time probably by about half when you get into there. So if it's got a posted wait time of 30 minutes, your yellow wait time is probably going to be somewhere in the 15 to 20 minute range. You're going to get on pretty quick. The other reason I waited to ride this and put it later in the day is this is a really great ride at night. So if you've done your whole day, let's say you took your breaks, you stopped, you went shopping, you ate some food, and it's now getting later in the day and it's dark out, this is a great time to go ride Stardust Racer. So I would encourage you, if you ride it during the day, come back and do it again at night if you're able to, because it is that much better at night, similar to the Velocicoaster over at Islands of Adventure. So that is my tips on how to get through this park. Now that brings us to the I can do this all day tip of the day. And this one is similar to the one I did in the last episode. And that is going to be at all costs, whatever you do not wait and do not ride the Yoshi ride in Super Nintendo Land. This thing is the worst ride I've ever ridden in my entire life. It is lame. It makes It's a Small World look like a roller coaster. So definitely skip that ride. It's very short. It's not worth the wait at all. And it's not worth your time. So skip that ride at all costs and save your day to go do the other bigger rides. Now, as I said on the last episode, if you've got really little kids, and by little kids, 4 or younger, they may enjoy this ride and it's definitely worth waiting for them so they get a ride that they can do during the day. But for anyone over the age of probably 5 or 7, they're not going to enjoy this ride. It's just being on a small carousel at a small park. So it's not a very good ride at all. So definitely skip that. But with that, next week, we've got our Millennium Falcon tips and tricks, which actually has a really controversial tip on it. So we encourage you to go listen to that and give us some feedback on that one as well. And we hope that you have a magical week as you're planning your next vacation. And we will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.